Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. It is 6 p.m., so I am going to open the City Council study session. Please stand with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
10 seconds, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Roll call. I'll start off with Sarah Diamond. Councilwoman Diamond is not able to be here tonight, and
Present.
she's online. Okay, thank you. All right. And I am looking for Councilman, there he is, Lavaca. Okay, perfect. So they are both
Present.
here. Thank you. Councilman Loy,
Here.
Councilwoman Kesty,
Present.
Councilman Henderson.
Here.
My apologies. Councilman Cock
Present.
and Councilman Burns.
Present.
Great, thank you. Okay, so a couple things. First off, because there have been changes to the agenda, I am going to ask for an approval of the agenda, but because of our attorney's time for executive session, I am wanting to move it to the top. It'd be about 10 minutes. But I'm requesting that we begin the meeting with executive session and then roll into the rest of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilman Henderson, second by Councilman Burns, to move the executive session to the top of the agenda and the approval of the agenda, rest of the agenda as it is laid out. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Excellent, motion carries. Okay, so we are going to go into executive session. This is to discuss discuss with legal counsel about the current or potential litigation. This will fall under RCW 42-30110-1I. And for the sake of the audience, we will be about 10 minutes. If it's longer, we will come out and let you know. So, all right.
I used to be a reformer.
Yeah.
Shorthand. Actually, I wish I had learned shorthand. I have my own short.
All right, we are back from executive session. I'm calling this meeting back into order. Councilman Cock?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to withdraw the amendment from the opioid litigation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Cox, second by Councilman Henderson, to withdraw from the amended opioid litigation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is introduction of special guests and presentations. And we have a special presentation tonight. We are having the Skagit Council Regional, let's see, wait a minute, my apologies. The Skagit Tourism Bureau CEO, Kristen Kels is here. Sorry, Kristen, I'm reading another line.
Good evening, Mayor Johnson and Council. I'm excited to be here and present an update on what we have been up to over the last year at the Skagit Tourism Bureau. A lot has been going on. I'm going to try to get through my slide presentations as quick as I can, but feel free to ask any questions after we have gone through. So next slide. So as mentioned, I'm Kristen Kautz, I'm the CEO, and I have with me tonight our VP of Marketing and Operations, Elizabeth Tyler, behind me, and our new Sports Development Manager, Cody Hurd, who just started with us in January. Genesee Funston is our PR and marketing intern from Western. She could not join us tonight, but she rounds out part of our team. She'll be with us until May, and fingers crossed, maybe we can add her to our team. So next slide. So we are governed by a board of directors. We're a 501c6 organization, so we have a pretty broad-based representation of our board to make sure that we're covered by representatives from the entire county and different industries. So we really take a look at that to make sure we have folks from, Anacortes all the way up into, Concrete and East, into Marble Mount, and then different industries and things like that. Next slide. So it was a long process to get us to where we are today. We started back in about 2008 having the conversation with hoteliers that they were wanting to push forward with a hotel petition to start a TPA, which is a tourism promotion area. It's an RCW through the state of Washington. And that would allow the hotels to assess themselves a $2 per night per room fee, and that would go to create a tourism bureau. We were one of the only counties at the time that did not have a fully functioning tourism bureau. And so the chambers at the time were kind of piecemealing and cobbling some dollars together to make sure we had a website, a social media presence, and do a little bit of advertising in the state tourism guide and the Cascade Loop. It was in 2020 where we finally got the interlocal agreement signed with all of the different communities in the county. And in January of 2021, we started collecting those fees, hired the first CEO in November of 2021, and he was here until November of 2023. And I started in January of 2024. So I have been there since the very beginning in various roles. I was the CEO for a Chamber of Commerce, and then in the hotel industry, and then in tourism-related private industry. So I've kind of seen it from all different sides. So next slide. So our mission statement, I'll let you read that. It's on our website, it's on there. But we really are here to attract overnight stays and market the experience that is Skagit Valley. So whether that is hiking in the North Cascades National Park or whale watching or the tulips, all of the amazing things that we have here, we are that agency that can work with all of our different communities to promote that. And also maintain the sense of pride that we all have. We don't want to over-tourism our beautiful valley, so we want to keep it special and make sure that we do responsible tourism. So, next slide.
And just for your information, just so you know, we do have these slides online with the packet, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mayor. So again, we're funded through that TPA tax, so that those funds are collected at the hotel level. They get submitted to the Department of Revenue, and then that comes back to the county. We have a contract with Skagit County. We are overseen by a TPA advisory board that is through Skagit County. It's very specific who is a member of that TPA advisory board. Each community has representation. And then we have 7 hotel seats so that the hotels really have a say in the work plan, the budget. They really are the ones that can kind of control what happens. If they don't like what we're doing, what's happening with these funds, with a 40% vote, they can just say no more. So we really want their opinion and to make sure that we're doing what's in their best interest to bring those overnight stays in. We are funded a little bit with some county lodging tax funds for some very specific and special projects. Our sports commission, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute, we do some travel shows to promote tours and talk to tour operators, both domestically and internationally. And then we do a little bit of work with the Washington Film Office. We're bringing in some location managers later this year. So next slide. So we finished up our branding back almost a year ago this April, end of April, and so we launched our new brand, our new logo, our new marketing messaging, and so you'll see our new logo here, and our tagline, Discover the Magic of Skagit, and so we've been utilizing that over the last year for all of our marketing campaign, the launch of our new website, and just really pushing it out there for some brand recognition. So spend some time in Skagit Valley and you almost won't believe your eyes. Here the unspoiled natural views are truly amazing to behold, with colorful fields of flowers stretching endlessly into the distance, seaside sunsets dancing hypnotically over gentle waves, and tree-covered mountains rising majestically to the heavens, not to mention countless other sights, sounds, smells, and flavors certain to surprise and delight your senses. How did Mother Nature do this? How did she manage to put so much beauty into one place where it can be explored, experienced, and enjoyed by all? Far be it from us to reveal her secrets. It's up to you. Discover the magic of Skagit. So we utilize that in all of our advertising and marketing campaigns that we're doing. Next slide. So this is just a quick recap of some of the initiatives that we did complete. So we had about 13.8 million impressions served. We did about 450,000 emails that were sent out. We did some Expedia advertising, very targeted advertising that was on the Expedia platform. We had generated about 14,000 room nights. That's both our campaign that we did, and then we also did a campaign with the State of Washington Tourism Co-op where we could leverage some of the dollars that we had with them. So that was about $2.2 million that was brought into the Valley. And then we did a campaign with a company called Epsilon, which is a media attribution marketing campaign where we can, it's kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie, but we can actually track somebody once we serve them the ad. They see the ad on their digital platform, and then we can retarget, and then we can actually track when they come into Skagit Valley and spend money on their credit card. So that $3.6 million, I know, I'm sorry, but we can, and then we can be really, really targeted on the marketing and advertising that we do based on the demographics of our data that we have in our data platform. So this $3.6 million we know came into Skagit Valley, was actually spent, and it only represents about 60% of the spend. So it's a very conservative number. So we know that was more. And that was on about a $55,000 spend and about a 6-month campaign. So we're upping that, and we're adding another media attribution for 2025 with a company called Datify, who we've moved our data platform over. So we're pretty excited about that. Next slide. So this is, we don't do a ton of print media, but we did do a bit. So we did the Northwest Travel and Life, print and digital ads. We also got invited to their conference last October, which is Travel in Words, where we got the opportunity to meet with about 26 travel writers, a few who are coming back and now have been given assignments to write about Skagit Valley, so we'll be hosting them. We're working with one who's going to be staying in Sedro-Woolley and doing some kayaking and some different things around the area, but we'll have a focus in Sedro-Woolley. We did some OTT video ads up into Canada. We did the Vancouver Magazine, the Adventure Northwest Magazine, the Cascade Loop, the State Visitor Guide, and the Scenic Washington ad. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, there we go. So this is just a little bit deeper of a breakdown of our Epsilon campaign. So you can see our investment, our ROA, our return on ad spend was about 65-1, which are really, really great results. We reached about 967,000 individuals, and we had nearly 20,000 people come to Skagit Valley. So we're pretty excited about that. And the average yield per person, so the average spend is about $183, so, which is a great number. Next slide. So this is just a breakdown of our Expedia campaign, click-through rate of 0.09 and about 1.3 million there, and a 66-1 return on ad spend. Next slide. So this is our gross bookings for our co-op. So we did about 902,000 with our co-op, and that was a $10,000 investment that we did into the overall campaign with the state. Next slide. So we were able to work with the Port of Seattle. We got 2 grants, so one for Q4 of 2024 and one for Q1 of 2025, where we got to have a billboard up in SeaTac Airport. And so the one on the left, the Tulip one, we did in Q4 in anticipation for Tulip Festival, and then the one on the right is up now, and will run, I believe, through the end of April. Elizabeth will yell at me if I'm incorrect on that. And then we will apply for additional, usually they run that twice a year. We did get denied just this last one because they cut it down to 10, and they just did a simple lottery, like pull out of the hat, and we were not chosen, so, but we'll try again. So next slide. So we also do public relations. So we work with a firm out of Edmonds. She is fabulous. She's got great regional and national connections in the tourism industry. So she's been able to get us some great publication write-ups. And so we've had stuff in the Seattle Times, the Victoria Times, several publications, and we have that all linked on our website so you can read all of the information. We were on King 5 today talking about the Canadian visitor. So we work really closely. We have a PR calendar that has all of our short pitches and then long pitches throughout the year. And so we coordinate that with all of our marketing campaigns. Next slide. Our website. So this is a labor of love. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears poured into this over the last 8 months. We launched 2 weeks ago now. And so this site will showcase the valley. We have a seasonal section, our dine, stay, sip. We've got a interactive map on the front page where you can see the whole valley at a glance and then zoom in and out of the different places to eat and stay and do activities. We've got a really cool AI function that is they're scraping and building right now, and you'll be able to do custom itineraries. So if you are going to be coming at a certain time of year and you want to do a certain thing, you'll be able to build out all of your custom itineraries. You'll be able to ask questions 24/7 for very specific things, and it'll build out. So very, very cool thing there. We've got the event calendar. So our hope is that we can be that really centralized countywide calendar for all tourism-related activities and community events. So we're encouraging everybody to get all of their events on our calendar. So pretty excited about that. It's gorgeous, so I encourage you to take some time and take a look. So next slide. So our data, we have a lot of data, and we're sifting through it and trying to pull it out in pieces. We do a data report in all of our monthly stakeholder newsletters, so we're able to track all of our visitations, our demographics, our STAR report, which is a Smith Travel Research report. It gives us the information on overnight stays. We have information on the Air DNA, which is all the short-term rental stays. So we are able to kind of dig in. We were able to get a grant from the state of Washington Tourism to bring in Blue Room Research, and so he does a lot of data analysis. So he's really able to layer on all of these data pieces and help tell a story about how things are impacting. Our hope is to really put some things together that will showcase, like, here's the data that we can provide, and then, we can provide it with lodging tax committees and say, here's how to, do rubrics of what things are bringing in overnight stays to the community and things like that. And here's the data to back it up. So we're pretty excited about that. We just switched over to a new data provider, and we're pretty impressed with what they're able to do. And they co-op with the state of Washington Tourism, so we were able to save some money. So next slide. This is the tourism economic data that we get from the state of Washington once a year. So we're able to look at, our number of visits. We can see how much local and state tax revenue that tourism brings into a community. Tourism saves our local citizens in Skagit County about $665 a year on their property tax statement. So it's a pretty big industry. It provides jobs and tax revenues that help pay for a lot of our infrastructure. It's an important industry in our community, and we're able to look at this report, and it goes back to 2019, so we can track how we're doing year over year. So we'll be presenting our new annual report in mid-May at our summit on May 15th, just a little plug, and we'll have the state of Washington tourism CEO coming in. He'll talk a little bit more about the new numbers for 2024. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about our data grant. So we've been pretty successful on getting grants. So we've received 2 rural tourism marketing and production grants, one last year for $22,000. We were able to purchase a library of photos. Again, we're building this brand new organization. We had no photos other than what people were giving us. And so we were able to build out some content for our website, a photo library. This year we received a $25,000 grant, and we'll be able to purchase some video content and additional content. We also received a second research and data grant, and so we're gonna utilize that for our sports commission, and we're gonna look at the economic impact of sports tournaments. And so we actually today got the email that the Department of Commerce approved it, and so we'll be getting that money in the next week. So we're very excited about that. Last year we used it for the data analysis that I mentioned. And then we just, 2 weeks ago, found out that we received the Rural Tourism Support Grant from the state of Washington. We're the only bureau in the state of Washington to get this grant, so we're very excited. They will bring in a consultant to work with us, and we'll actually put together a destination development plan. So we'll bring together stakeholders from all over the county to talk about what tourism looks like in Skagit County and build out a plan and identify needs, and kind of what we want tourism to look like in the next 5 or 10 years for the county. So, next slide. So the Sports Commission. So that's the fun, exciting thing that's happening now. When we were putting together the Tourism Bureau, the hotels were really adamant that we, encouraging that we put together a sports commission. Sports are a big thing to our community. They bring in a lot of people, and we have the amenities, not just in Burlington, but all over our county. And so in January, we stood up the sports commission under the Skagit Tourism Bureau umbrella. We hired Cody, our sports development manager. We joined the Sports ETA, which is the National Association for DMOs and sports directors, where they can come together and have conversations about, places that they want to go. We're going to be attending the National Symposium in 2 weeks, where we have appointments set up to meet with different tournament directors. And we don't know who they are quite yet. You put in your list of who you want to meet with, and then they match you up. So we're patiently waiting to see who we got. But we're hoping to, meet with the, soccer tournaments, the baseball tournaments, and very random tournaments. There's bicycle clubs, there's Quidditch, and all kinds of different things that we are able to host here. So we have put together a pretty comprehensive list of all the fields, facilities. We've met with all the school districts, athletic directors, facility managers, the parks departments with all the cities, and really kind of put together a really comprehensive list, as well as a calendar of events. We've also purchased the Play Easy platform, which is kind of like a LinkedIn for sports tournaments directors. So we have all of our hotels listed, all of our things to do. There's a map. So tournament directors can essentially send this link to all of their participants. And then also our stakeholders can go on and look and see what tournaments are happening. They can put promotions in to direct people to come visit and kind of keep up to date as to what's happening in the community. So we're also working really closely with the county on coordinating meetings regarding FIFA It's coming. We don't know exactly how big it is. There's a lot of conversations happening at many levels on how many people we think are going to come to the state of Washington and Vancouver, BC. We're right in between two major cities that are going to be hosting matches. And then we're also between two cities that are fan zones. So we're really monitoring that. And, you know, we're looking at maybe Skagit Valley as a base camp for people that are going to be hitting matches in both cities. So we are part of the statewide sports commission partnership. And so we're going to be attending a meeting with the Seattle Planning Commission for the FIFA group. We work closely with the state DMO group and Visit Seattle, who's got a sports commission as well. So we're also working with our first tournament, the USA Ultimate, that's happening mid-May, and then again on Memorial Weekend. The first weekend, they're going to bring about 2,500 people. The second weekend, about 5,000 people, and it'll be on ESPNU. So we were initially supposed to just get one weekend. We were able to secure two, and so we're pretty excited about that, working with them on all the logistics of things that happen on the back end. So getting their hotels set up and catering for their big dinner, and working with the Boys and Girls Club to set up a training for some of the kids so they can get, you know, exposed to Ultimate Frisbee. So next slide. So this is just a sample of what our Play Easy looks like. This is kind of a side-by-side. So it's got all of our hotel listings. It's got a map. You can see the, you know, facilities. We're getting photos up for all of those. So you can take a look, and I can get that link over to you. Next slide. So we also attended some trade shows and conferences this year. So we did the Go West Summit, which was in January, really focusing on international tourism marketing. Met with several tour operators that are looking to come into the not only Washington, but into our area. We also attended the International Inbound Travel Association. Elizabeth will be attending IPW with the State of Washington Tourism in June. And then we'll be attending the National Tour Association, I think, in November. So all the dates are getting jumbled in my head. So, and then as I mentioned, this was us at the Travel and Words Travel Writer Conference, which was really successful for us. A lot of the travel writers are very interested in writing stories about Skagit Valley. Next slide. So Washington Filmworks, so we are the official film liaison for the State of Washington Film Office, and so we work really closely with them. We have a database that has all of the locations that are film friendly and with photos, and then as I mentioned, we are hosting a group of location managers. We were supposed to have them in March, but several of them got pulled to a really big production in Eastern Washington and other places, and we really wanted this specific group of people. We had some pretty big hitters that wanted to come to Skagit Valley, so we were encouraged to move our FAM tour to November. So it will be the 5th, 6th, and 7th of November, and so we'll take them from Anacortes all the way up to New Halem. They'll get photos and videos of everything that looks interesting for commercials, movies, and other film, and then we actually get some of that footage and video that we can use. So pretty excited about that. Next slide. And this is just a sample of our database and all of the different locations that we have. So if anyone has anything that they're willing to open up for filming, you just let us know. Next slide. One of the other things that we were able to purchase this year is a digital asset management library. So we have all of our photos and videos into a library that are cataloged, and we have like all of our copyrighted photos sorted. We're able to send links out to the media, to our stakeholders to utilize. So we're able to share that if they need them for any of their marketing and advertising. Next slide. And then one of the other final things that we do is we've got our complimentary online customer service training. And so this is obviously really geared towards hospitality, and they can watch 4 5 to 7 minute videos and then receive a certification at the end of it. However, it's free and open to any business who wants to do it. So we've had several businesses take us up on that. So it's just a link on our website, and anyone can do it. So next slide. And then finally, just another pitch for our first annual Tourism Summit on May 15th. We've got the State of Washington Tourism CEO David Blandford coming to speak. We've got our Blue Room Research. He's going to do all dive into our data. And then we've got Anthony Anton, the CEO for the Washington Hospitality Association, will join us virtually for that event. So next slide. I think that's all I've got for you. So
I have to say that I am, oh my gosh, you have taken this far and beyond, I think, what all of our expectation were or was. Beautiful job, really great job, and appreciate all the work that you and your team have put into this. This is something I think that's really going to change the Skagit Valley in a good way, you know, making people aware of the beauty that we do have here and what makes us special.
yeah,
So,
thank you. And we've
yeah.
got a great team, so
Yeah.
I give all the shout out to them.
Councilman Burns?
First, I wanted to thank you for what you're doing. I think it's really neat you're trying to bring tourists to our area, let them know how fantastic Skagit Valley is, bringing tournaments for sports, and your website looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I had a question about your ad spend to revenue. Are you able, through what you have, the data, to connect everything to that revenue? Because that is a spectacular turnaround for the ad spend that you're doing. That's wonderful.
Yes, we are able to connect it, pretty much everything. Some of the print advertising, obviously, we're not able to, but the Epsilon and the Datify, we're really going to hone in and be very strategic on that. And a majority of our advertising will go to that because we can kind of down to the dollar know exactly how much those campaigns brought in, where it brought it in, and where from. Like we can dial in almost to the zip code.
Well, you are doing absolutely spectacular with your ad spend dollars then if you're able to zero it in like that. Wonderful job. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Koch, and then Councilman Lavaca is also online. So go ahead, Councilman Koch.
Yes, I'd also like to compliment you on this comprehensive marketing effort. I think it's very professional, and I think you're making a difference. Do you amplify, for example, locally, our Lager Rodeo on top of any marketing they do? And I got one question after that.
Okay, yeah, so we do push out the events. We don't do specific like ads for an event, but we will do like, hey, during this time we have these events going on. So it's not like specific for, because there's so many events, we can't just do specific ads for every single event, but we do have ads and PR pitches that go out for, hey, come during this time and you can do all of these events.
Yeah, my second question is, my last life as communications director at Western Washington University, I was the one who said no to all the film requests because they were usually zombie movies or slasher movies on campus. And I actually got to know some folks years ago at Deception Pass State Park, and they told me they lost a ton of money because of Kevin Costner's movie, The Postman. It took so much staff time. So I literally told everybody no. So I wonder if there's any kind of fee structure that's maybe since I left the university that repays for police, for road stuff, for all that.
So it's really up to wherever they're filming, and those are separate contracts that they work out with whoever is filming. So they need to kind of look at those costs and figure out what that permit structure is and make sure that those fees are covering those costs.
Yeah, okay. And excellent work, by the way. Oh, where's the Ultimate Frisbee?
They're going to host it at Skagit River Park for the first weekend and then part of the second weekend, and then they're holding the championship games at the Burlington High School Stadium. It's the only stadium that had enough seating. They had to have a certain capacity for seating.
Well, that sounds like fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Lavaca?
Thank you very much, and great job on this, Kristen. I really do appreciate what you're doing. I always had a love for advertising our community and seeing a lot more people see the beauty of it. So I wanted to tell you about that logo you guys came up with, the diamond. That was really awesome. You got the cascade at the top, the foothills right next following that, Woody, you can even pull it up if you wanted to, but it's tulips that come together with the river at the bottom. That's a really good, keen feature and a great logo for the website and for Skagit Valley. So from Sedro-Woolley's side, or at least my side, I love it. And I think you guys did a really wonderful job developing that. I just had a couple of questions. One was along with Councilman Burns, tax 65 or the 65 to $1 ratio. Is that before or after taxes? Is that revenue coming in, or is that revenue generated to the city as well?
Yeah, I think it's before tax. It would be revenue coming in. Yeah.
Okay, which makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be businesses and
Yeah.
and other areas putting into that. But
Yeah.
how much does Sedro-Woolley put in toward the tourism on this side, on your guys' website, or because you take in from other communities, right, to help?
We do not ask for lodging tax revenue from any cities at this time. We just receive the TPA, and it's only hotels that have 40 rooms or more are the only ones that are collecting this fee. So in your city right now, it's the Three Rivers Inn and the New Colshan.
It seems like maybe a different conversation for Charlie and the Parks and Rec under Public Works, but kind of looking at how we can financially help support the tourism. Because I noticed that on the website, which looks pretty good too. Our big thing is our Parks and Rec along with industry, but Parks and Rec are really what we want to hone us on. We don't really see anything on the website. In fact, when it comes to just events altogether, the Lager Rodeo is on the website as far as the only thing mentioned for Sedro-Woolley. There's 10 things for Anacortes, 12 for Burlington, a lot for Mount Vernon, of course, but only one thing for Sedro-Woolley. So a way to incentivize your team to advertising a little bit more about the blast from the past, or having our museum put in there and maybe an excerpt about the museum, or having other events like the concert series at our waterfront park with the amphitheater. I noticed there's one car show in Anacortes, there's a concert series in Anacortes, there's a fireworks show in Anacortes that we also have as well. So if there's a way that we can also do that, it does make sense because of course that's a hub of tourism from Canada and elsewhere, but it would be cool to see that. I don't know if that's something that's possible.
Oh, absolutely. There's no fees to be on our website. We just need the information. So we can absolutely get that stuff up. So I can connect with whoever Mayor Julia
I
wants
can
me
connect with
to
you, yeah.
connect with, and we can get that information up. And I know Monique is, will get all of her events and things up as well for the chamber.
Yeah, she's a vice president on your board, right?
Yep,
So
correct.
yeah, I'm sure we'd probably see a lot more Sedro-Woolley events into that area. So I do appreciate your efforts on this website and what you're doing for Skagit County, and would love to see a bit more about Sedro-Woolley. There's one excerpt about us in Sedro-Woolley under the valley, and it does say drive through Sedro-Woolley, a small town on the forest edge. But that's kind of it, and it kind of passes through. So it'd be cool if Monique or somebody helped maybe write up even a little bit more sentence structure on that to say, come visit us in Sedro-Woolley, and we have a lot to offer the people of the community in Skagit, as well as people touristing Skagit County. But thank you very much. It's a wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Absolutely. And you should have, each community has their own page. So I don't know if you saw that as well. And we can just make sure that that has, is fully populated.
And I
with
believe we
everything.
submitted a video to you regarding,
Yeah, I don't know
yeah.
if that, videos I don't think have been populated on the website quite yet. So
Okay.
we're still collecting videos.
I know you're still building, as you said, populating it, yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, the community page, if anyone wants anything added to that, we're happy to do that. We'll be launching the extranet here in the next week. So folks can go in and actually upload their own stuff. But we've been putting out, like, send us whatever you have and we will put it up on the website, absolutely.
All right, go ahead, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. Great presentation. I like what you're doing. Did you say it's free to put, we can give you the information and it's free to put events on? Okay.
Yeah, we're
so-
not a membership organization, so we want as much information. Obviously, visitors need as much information as they can. So, yep, just
Okay.
send us the information and we'll get that up.
Well, I appreciate that, and I like what you're doing. I just have one issue. You stole one of my employees over there, so.
He was an intern. You weren't paying him yet, so.
All right. Well, he'll do pretty well for you, so.
Yes, we're very
yeah.
excited. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding, so I do believe that in one of the newsletters that you sent out, there's been a decrease actually in the Canadians that have come across the border.
Yes.
And can you speak to that or talk about that?
I can. We've spent a lot of time discussing this. Obviously, you've all seen what's been happening on the news. There it definitely is some boycotting happening by the Canadian population. So we certainly are seeing a decrease in visitors that are coming down to the state. There was about a 500,000 less crossings on the border in February. We have not seen the March numbers yet. The state tourism office saw about a 10% decrease. Some of the, Whatcom County's seen a bit larger. Obviously, they see a lot of people coming to Costco and Trader Joe's and things. So I think ours has been a little bit less of an impact, but still an impact. And so we're working together with the rest of the DMOs across the state to figure out a plan for messaging. Everybody's pulled back their marketing and their PR just because it is not probably the most appropriate thing to do to push out a bunch of marketing to, folks. It's a little bit sensitive. So our messaging at this point is we respect your decision. We will be here when you're ready. Our doors are always open. And so we're working on kind of getting that messaging and figuring out what we can do, but we definitely have seen an impact. Some folks more than others. I've been in communication with a lot of our hoteliers and retailers, and it just kind of depends on where they're at. Some have not seen a significant of a decrease for Tulip Festival, which is good. We are going to be, talking with the farms to see if they can help us kind of track the decrease from 2024 to 2025 and continue to monitor, working really closely with the state of Washington Tourism and our fellow DMOs.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that. I know it is a sensitive issue and also a little uncomfortable to talk about, but it's a reality just the same. And so
Yep.
I was curious as to how that was being approached. And I guess we really won't know the impact until we see it through the next few months to a year, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll be putting up, keep an eye out. We had a tourism economics call today, and so it had not only Canada, but some more international numbers, and so some really good data and information on kind of what we should expect over the next year to 2 years. So we'll be sharing that information as well.
Mayor, can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
So you guys are over the Tulip Festival too?
No.
Oh, you're not?
Totally separate organization. We work really close. Nicole sits on our board, and I sit on Nicole's board, and we support them
Okay.
however we can.
That's very
Yeah,
helpful for me to
absolutely,
understand.
yes.
And if you want an expert on Canadian-American relations, Lori Troutman, the Director of Canadian-American Studies at Western, is an expert.
Oh, okay.
Lori Troutman.
Troutman, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Sarah, Councilman Diamond. Do you have a question?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to say that I am incredibly excited about the Sports Commission and all of the work that's being put into that and getting that up and going and started. I feel like the Skagit County has so much to offer with all of our parks and the community that we have around here that it's kind of it's been a lost gem. And having coached and been a part on numerous boards for various youth sports organizations, and currently booking and working with tournament directors now all over the area for teams right now. I can tell you that I am asked over and over again what.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, did we lose
I
her?
think we lost her. Yeah.
Yeah, it appears she has gone offline for some reason.
Okay. Okay. That's unfortunate. So one last thing, though. I think that, I'm just going to say thank you, Kristen, because I know that we are going to be hearing more and more from you as far as how all of this is developing and how it's impacting our community. I'm sure we'll be seeing you and reading about you in different places. I do receive your flyer, your newsletter. I will push that out to the council members. I didn't know if you did that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will push that out to the council members so that they have that as well. But thank you so much for, stepping up and taking this on. It has been, what do they say? How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And you've been doing that. You certainly have been doing that. So,
Thank you.
would be very happy to meet with you, and Monique, and we can talk about the different activities that are happening both year-round and also what might be coming up that would be special that maybe could be listed.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll take a look at that. We're happy to add whatever we need to
Yeah.
to the Sedro-Woolley side of things, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for coming and introducing yourself and your team and making us aware of who you are and what you're doing. It's very exciting, feels very hopeful. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Our next presentation tonight is coming from Robert Knoll, the manager of Puget Sound Energy for Skagit and Snohomish County. So welcome, Robert.
Well, great. I have been promoted by your agenda. I'm actually a senior government affairs representative.
Ah, okay.
Manager, I guess, tonight. Yeah, so, and you guys can see that okay. So, yeah, it's nice to be a special guest here tonight. It's tough to follow tourism, I would say. You guys had some dessert there and are about to eat some vegetables, so. But yeah, I'm really glad to be here tonight. We're going to talk about quite a few items. I'll try and get through them quickly, but really focusing on PSE's clean energy transformation and taking you through some background about where PSE is and how we're getting to this place. You know, also in the context of battery energy storage, I hear that that's been an issue here, and I also just wanted to just hopefully help you gain an understanding of where we're at and where these things are happening. Finally, I want to have some time just for some back and forth and some questions you may have, so hopefully we'll have time for that. I would just say, you know, a lot of times that involves me going to people at the company that are smarter than I am, so please be patient if I don't have the answer for you right away. And then I would say hold your questions to the end if you feel that's appropriate, just because I may cover, there's quite a few slides, so I may cover questions that you have. The one exception I would say to that is if I use an acronym in here that you don't know, that really drives me nuts, even after working for PSC for 6 years. So if you have any questions, like as we're going, please feel free to interrupt me.
Thank you.
Great, so next slide, please. Yeah, so just introducing PSE again, we're the largest and oldest utility in Washington. We serve approximately 1.5 million customers in 10 counties, and as you probably know, that's divided between our electric service territory and our natural gas service territory. And obviously here in Skagit, we are your electric provider, but the other piece of that is that those two sides of the business and our energy picture, they're not completely independent from each other. We're going to talk a lot about this, but we're undergoing the most significant transformation in our energy supply in the history of the company. We have a lot of benchmarks around that because of our state's clean energy laws, which are among the most ambitious in the nation. But you know, at the core, we're still really focused on the clean and reliable energy supply. We have a lot of engineers at our company that is their core motivation for being with us. Next slide, please. So I kept this slide. It's a little bit redundant, but just to talk about, I know this came up last time I was here, the energy mix. This is for 2023, and so I had hoped to have more recent numbers for this, but so you can see we've gone a little bit on this pie chart from the natural gas and coal, and then this year will be really a benchmark for the coal piece of that, but you can see that natural gas and hydro contain about equal thirds of the pie, with renewables being the next largest, and then coal being that 18% down there. Next slide, please. So this is an overview of some of the laws that govern PSC's energy transition and how we're regulated at the state level. So it's really important to reiterate, you know, Washington, PSE is regulated at the state level by the Utilities and Transportation Commission. That is the most important piece of our regulatory structure and who we report to follow the law. And then these laws are obviously put forth in the state legislature. The one we're going to talk about the most tonight is the Clean Energy Transformation Act, which passed in 2019, and that set several benchmarks for our electric generation, and when those benchmarks occurred, what percentage we're at as far as clean energy in our portfolio, ultimately getting to 100% clean electric supply by 2045. Next slide, please. So 2025 is a really significant year. For just a small point of personal privilege, I was working in the legislature as a very new person in 2009 when they passed this law. And I thought at that time, 2025, my goodness, like I'll be retired by then or something, I don't know. So this is just to give you, I say that to give you a scale of where the planning and where the laws that are impacting us today are coming from. So 2025, for example, this is the big benchmark where our coal strip facility, which is in eastern Montana, will come offline. And then that next benchmark, 2030, which is just 5 years away, is where we'll get to an 80% clean electric supply on our electric generation. And then by 2045, we'll be 100% clean as far as non-emitting electric supply. Next slide. So where are we as far as making progress with these goals? It's really, we are really aggressively looking at all of the options on the table to meet these goals. Renewable energy resources from large-scale projects to all the way down to your home and the efficiencies that you have on the residential side and as an individual customer. Since 2019, when CETA passed, we've procured and we're operating 3,800 megawatts of clean energy. And just for perspective, that's more than we added in the previous 30 years of operation. So that 6-year benchmark is really incredible, but again, as I'll take you through, we have still quite a hill to climb. We've issued a RFP. This is the second all-source RFP in 2024 to supply that additional 2.3 million annual megawatt hours of non-emitting resources, and we'll be reviewing those over the next coming months. Next slide, please. So I think, a really big takeaway of this is that this is a huge hill to climb, and it is not without challenges. And I think that we should be honest about not having all the answers right away. The clean energy technologies that we're looking at, some of them are not commercially available on the timeline that we need them as far as taking coal out of our portfolio, for example. There's challenges with clean energy resources because they are intermittent. So we can't dispatch a wind turbine, for example. We rely on the wind to be blowing and to put that onto the grid. The same is true of solar. And then where you put that solar is really critical as well. And then there's really challenges with modernizing our electric grid so it works with this new technology that we're putting onto it and the new technology that our customers are demanding of us. So we have to balance all of these kind of competing interests and then also do that with an eye to reliability and affordability at the same time. Next slide, please. Yeah, what's this slide? Okay, so this, I think just really the takeaway from this is really the pace at which we're working to acquire this energy. So that bar on the left is really still reflective of where we are now, and then that 2030 benchmark is, double what we have today as far as clean energy resources, and then to get to approximately 15,000 megawatts of clean energy by 2045. You can see on the right there some examples of what that would look like as far as projects. So really a lot of projects, construction, and transmission and distribution that goes along with it. We basically have to double and then double again the clean energy acquisition that we're looking at in the near and long-term plan. Next slide, please. So one of the big challenges we see as we take our coal-fired resource out of the portfolio this year is the need for that baseload energy. And again, what that really looks like is things that PSE can control and dispatch in real time to meet demand. We need to be able to serve customers when the sun isn't shining, when the wind isn't blowing. And again, the challenge here is that the emerging technologies that we see are not necessarily commercially available on the timeline that we need them. So in the near term, though, we do have, we have options for variable resources. We have hybrid thermal peaking resources that can come online, for example, and that is, we have that in Skagit County right now in the form of our Fredonia plant. Those are essentially gas-fired turbines that we hold in reserve for when we need them, and there is technology coming into the pipeline where we can use that kind of facility with perhaps hydrogen fuel, with biodiesel, with other options. So we're really excited about that, but again, we kind of need those folks to move faster at the same time. Next slide, please. Yeah, we're really pursuing an all the above strategy for this, including, I think this came up when I was here last year. We had a question about nuclear, small mod nuclear. That's a really great example of, I think, a really promising technology, but one that was, 10 years, going to be ready in 10 years, a decade ago, and ready in 10 years from perhaps where we are right now. We're still really, invested in that with our investments and partnerships with various companies looking at this. Again, the challenge for a utility like us is that the cost is an issue, and then the technology as far as becoming a first adopter of that technology also has its issues. And yes, and so Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub, that is another one that I was trying to, it's right there, it's not in my notes, so. And then obviously another big piece of this is the utility battery storage solutions that we're looking to add to our portfolio and looking to expand that technology for duration energy storage. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a chart of that 3,800 megawatts of clean energy that we've added since 2019, since the passage of CETA. So again, the years go by and we add, some of these projects are 17 megawatts, some of them are closer to 300, but it all adds up. It's all really important to the picture, the bigger picture here. Next slide. So battery storage systems, I think that's one of the real questions we have as far as what's going in Skagit County. We do we have battery storage in our long-term plans because this is what really allows us to offset the intermittency of renewables. So storing energy when there's excess capacity in renewables and then being able to draw that back on the grid is really a game changer as far as utility scale applications and being able to smooth out that demand on the grid. And so we're exploring a mix of that. The total that we're looking at is 1,500 megawatts throughout our service territory. Most of that will not be here, in part because of the way our grid works, and then the really optimization of locating those near existing generating assets. Next slide, please. So in the background of clean energy transition, laws governing our electric supply portfolio, we have also customer behavior. We have businesses needing larger loads. We have those external forces that we want to serve and have a legal obligation to serve. So we have forecasts looking at our energy consumption over the next 20 years being at 34%. So that's really after seeing in the electric generation a real, I wouldn't say a flat line, but not a lack of growth in the overall need for electricity because of great, savings that we do in energy savings programs and really the work that utilities, including PSE, but also that our partners in local government and using federal dollars as well have done to increase efficiency and keep that curve relatively flat. The real big piece that has driven the increase in system load is EVs. And I think we're all familiar with that. We project that to increase as well. Next slide, please. This is just a snapshot for you of our electric load forecast, and this gets updated every year. We actually have a whole floor of people, again, a lot smarter than me, who update this and keep this moving in real time. But again, really shows you the growth in electric vehicles, and what we expect to see into our system is really driven by electric vehicles. It's not just electric vehicles, but we see, for example, commercial applications of EVs. I was hearing, and this is something I learned really recently, but even our bus systems that want to move to EV technology, or electric buses rather, and school buses. For example, if you have a school bus fleet that's coming back all at the same time, they're all plugging into the distribution network at the same time. That's a problem we have to think about and be prepared for that really in real time. Next slide, please. Right, and so where does the customer fit in all of this? We really lean on the together message as far as where we're going in this journey, because there's going to be a role for all of us to play. I know before I worked at the utility, I was one of those people, and I'm not talking down to them at all, but we sort of all expect to turn on that light, and we don't really think about it, and we don't think about all the myriad infrastructure that goes into that, and that's completely understandable. I think we're really blessed to live in an area where we don't have to think about that, but that is not the norm in the world, and in some cases not even the norm as you see challenges on our grid domestically. So I think the residential piece, as you saw on that previous slide, the residential piece is still the biggest piece of the pie as far as our load responsibility to serve, but we're really going to lean heavily on innovative programs we can offer our customers to help us in this transition. So what does that look like? Distributed energy resources and microgrids. So that can be solar panels that we can site on buildings and co-site with willing partners. We did a microgrid for Sandwich Island that we partnered with Skagit County to increase reliability and resiliency for an island community that's, it's at the very end of a distribution line and very low on the list. Frankly, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, it's tough when we have storms, because they have so few people and they're at the end of this distribution line. So how can we deploy that technology really around the whole territory to increase resiliency? Demand response is the other big piece of this. And this one can be a little sticky because this can be like characterized as, the utility coming in and messing with your thermostat or turning down your water heater. But we really want to emphasize the voluntary nature of it. It's really, we can pay you a little bit to offset the intensity of the load on our network. For example, as we build more EVs into the system, everybody coming home at the same time from work, we still kind of have that pattern, even with remote work and all those patterns. We still have people coming into the network, plugging in all at the same time. That's a problem that we can solve with technology and cooperation. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is a little, distributed energy resources. There's just a little more information about that. Here's an example, the partnership we did with the Olympia School District, which was really cool. This is a win-win for us and for folks that we're able to partner with, and then also get these photovoltaics on rooftops versus other areas. It does have its own challenges because that's more expensive. There's more siting issues. You've got to really talk to a lot more people to get that sited versus on a private property who wants to host you. We have about 15 megawatts of this total in our network right now, and we need to get to about 150 megawatts under our plan. Next slide, please.
Could you say that again? You're at 15? Is that what you said?
For distributed energy resources, we're at about 15 megawatts now in our whole system, and we want to get to 150 megawatts. So that would be on the order of one of the Baker dams as far as.
So is that by the 2030 mark, or is that the 2045 benchmark?
That's actually, I'm not sure.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm asking questions.
I believe
I'm
that's by
asking questions.
2030 because of the context of that slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, and then so demand response, this is the one I kind of mentioned is a little, I don't want to downplay it. I think we have about a quarter of our customers 300,000 customers who voluntarily bought into this. And that really, it invites customers to, and incentivizes them to reduce their energy use when it's helpful to us and to the community at large. And they also offset our need to build more large scale. If we can, it's the same as our conservation that we do when we go into a business and we say, let's look at what light bulbs you're using. Let's look at your efficiency of your building footprint. We would rather actually directly pay for that than build a new gas-fired turbine. So, next slide, please. So, I don't want to be a downer. I was about to say another challenge, I think challenges, opportunities. The other big challenge with all of this is that the largest projects that we're looking to add to our electric portfolio are located far away from the Puget Sound, central Puget Sound, where the vast majority of our customers are. That really creates issues because transmission is among the most difficult projects that we site and build. It's really incumbent on us to site these clean energy projects where they're the most efficient. And so, for example, we don't, if you live in the Skagit Valley, this is not the place to put large-scale wind turbines. There's challenges with solar. We all wish it were sunnier, I think, sometimes, but that also gives us the challenge of delivering that power to where it's consumed. And then I think the real point here too is that most of the transmission resources in this state are legacy systems. We are benefiting from systems that are decades old at this point, and so we really have a huge responsibility to update those systems. And in the case of adding more generation, is we're going to need more transmission added. Which brings me to the next slide, I think. So transmission expansion. So this diagram, it shows you, the projects that we're considering. Some of these are in our RFPs for clean energy, and as you can see, they're far outside the service territory. Most of the transmission in the Pacific Northwest is owned by the federal government, operated by the Bonneville Power Administration. We are looking at a cross Cascades transmission line, for example, partnering with Bonneville. We've asked them, when can you get that online for us? And they've said 2039. About 10 years after we need it. So that's, again, a challenge. We are working on this, but recently the BPA lost a large chunk of their transmission planning engineers because of cuts from the federal government. So the idea that we're going to improve, under current conditions, it's going to be very difficult to meet those timelines. Next slide, please. This diagram really, I think, helps kind of just visualize the generation from large-scale generation through our transmission system to the distribution system and the lines that serve your homes, your businesses, city hall, schools, et cetera. That sort of system architecture isn't really going to change, but what's going to change is that we really need to be more of a technology company, more of an engineering company, more of a customer service company to explain what we're doing, why this need exists, and what changes we're implementing, and how people can help. Next slide, please. I think I would rather let the planners talk about this. Let's go to next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, so just wanted to close out with a little bit more info on PSC and Skagit County. We have about 65,000 total customers. 10,000 of those approximately are commercial, and then the vast majority are residential. We have about 200 employees in Skagit County. That number goes up quite a bit with our Baker project in the summer because we have seasonal employees there. There's some pretty important partnerships going on in Skagit County right now that we're really excited about. The company was awarded, PSE was awarded a $45 million grid resiliency and improvement grant from the federal government. That would help us underground transmission. It's really focused on wildfire safety. The company is really trying to move quickly on wildfire resiliency with some of the effects that we've seen of climate change and of wildfires, seeing those on the west side of the Cascades, and planning for that is really critical. EPA grant. We've worked with the Port of Anacortes on modernization for the port. I'm really excited about that. And then I mentioned the Samish Island Battery and Microgrid. The GRIP grant, unfortunately, as well as the EPA grant, are also impounded right now by the federal government, so we're working on that as well. Next slide. Oh yeah, so I think one of my first interactions with PSC was going to the Baker project. I recommend, if you guys haven't gotten up there, please get up there. We have we have the Baker Clubhouse. We call it the Clubhouse because PSC bought it from the concrete industry up there and turned it into a place for employees to use, and then it sat in disrepair for years and years and years until recently we turned that into a really proper visitor center and museum that looks at the concrete industry up there. So really well worth a visit, and hope I'm tying into the tourism theme from earlier. And then, of course, again, you know, our Lake Shannon Day Use Park that we've built, the boat ramp, all of these things, of course, doing under our federal license to operate the Baker project. So want to mention that as well. A lot of partners that we've worked with on that. And then I think the most important thing to highlight for the county and for the watershed is the work on fish passage up at Baker. This is a project that is from 1919 and, you know, almost caused the extinction of the salmon runs, sockeye runs on the Baker River and into the Skagit. And it is now experiencing record runs, and we host hydro operators from all over the world to come see what's being done there. Again, all in partnership with our federal, the settlement parties in the area. Next slide. Cool, okay, this is the end. I feel like so these always go a little longer than I think, and when I time them, I'm shocked. But yeah, I think if I just leave you with nothing else, it's just the scale of what we need to build and sort of the challenges we're facing. But I do want to say, I think we've come a long way. The 3,800 megawatts that we have added since 2019 of clean, non-emitting energy is a really big achievement, and we want to continue to partner, obviously, with all of our jurisdictions in the community to be successful. Again, we have a lot to figure out. And I think that's the next slide. So here's my contact, and so my door is open, my email inbox is open, voicemail box open. Would love to hear from you at any time, but obviously, if we have time now as well, be happy to attempt to answer questions.
Okay. It looks like Councilman Kopp, go ahead.
Robert, thank you for the interesting and comprehensive presentation. As you know, this council and many in the community have stood up opposed to the Golden Eye facility. It's interesting to me. I was watching the TV show, CBS's 60 Minutes on Sunday, and they went into the LA neighborhoods that had burned down. And they were talking, I think, to a firefighter, maybe our fire folks would know this, that when the fires would reach an EV battery, when it blew up, it sounded like a grenade. So our concerns are a facility that large, multiplied many times over, and I've driven the neighborhoods. I'm just letting you know this sort of a statement around that is when I asked the representatives what would happen if a fire started, they said we would just let it burn. And the concerns I have, not only the technology of the facility, but the fact that it's on next to, and will go the transmission line under Hanson Creek, and it's on farmland, and it's near the Skagit River, and for all those reasons, that's why so many people are opposed to it. And I know this isn't your decision, but I would love for PSC to tell the contractor, step back from that location.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Hen.
Okay, one other quick question.
Well, that wasn't a question, that was a statement.
It was a statement, just a quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is your energy load affected also by data centers? Because, you know, they're super hungry for AI memory now, and I wonder if that's a factor too.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor, and it's really new. And so I think even that chart that I showed with seeing just the EV, I should do it this way, the EV slope going up quite a bit, you know, we need to get the AI impact on there as well, the AI impact, yeah. Really significant loads coming onto the system. We have not seen them in Western Washington yet, but we know they're coming. There are really, right now, it's a function of the business decision that they make, and they have other areas that they can go, frankly, for cheaper energy.
Thank
But
you.
something, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Henderson?
Woody, can you go to slide 8, please?
I guess I should go to slide 8 too.
That one. Thank you. First of all, Robert, thanks for coming down and talking to us. I think we saw you back in February 28th of last year. I actually was online during that meeting. It was the first meeting I haven't been here for at that date. And so I was listening. I didn't really ask any questions. I was just listening and getting a feel for what the presentation was. But some of the interesting questions, Councilwoman Diamond actually asked a question, and Councilman Lavaca kind of asked a question that followed up with that. Do we have enough electricity to continue developing the way that we are right now? And I went back and I watched the video today, and the answer back then, 13 months ago, was yeah, we're good. We're fine. And then looking at this slide, how much megawatts of electricity we have to be able to produce by 2045. So that's set by that's set by House bills through the state, right?
Yes.
So the state through law is telling PSE that you will produce this or else, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is correct. The state is, so the question is, who is mandating where these increases are coming from? And I should say on this slide too, this is an example of what it would take, just to give you an idea of the scale. These aren't all planned, for example, because we still have to go through those RFPs and then they have to get built.
So going down the line of the example for scale, what we need, I'm seeing a lot of stuff here, wind turbines, solar plants, and then we get down to the battery storage plants of 10 additional.
Correct.
So is that 10 of the magnitude that the GoldenEye is being proposed at?
It could be. They may vary slightly because they vary based on site design and who responds to the RFP. 1,500 megawatts of battery storage, looking like 10. Yeah, that's going to be 10 around the 250 megawatt range. We have of those 10, I believe we have proposals for 4 right now that are active from that 2023 RFP, and then we have that active 2024 RFP out now, I believe.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at, in maybe a little bit of a roundabout way, is we've seen up to 4 proposals here in Skagit County alone. There's one that's already been approved to be built up by the port, back behind
So that one's
the
still in
lumber place.
process. It's
That
not, it
hasn't been approved?
No, it's going, so that is going, as you're probably all aware, that's going through the county and is still in a process of approval. We are talking to NextEra about the Mount Vernon battery project. We are not communicating with GoldenEye on the Tenaska project.
So
They've responded to the RFP. And once that RFP goes out, they are able to make their proposal, and they decide on siting and follow the applicable county or state regulations. This one is the first one that went that FSEC route.
So if your company, which you're a pretty big company statewide, if you meet the need around the state of your storage goals, does PSE get to say, okay, well, we don't want that one because that doesn't really serve us well, and we don't want this one because that doesn't really serve us well, but that one down in Enumclaw is going to work great, and this one in this industrial zone over here is going to work great. Are you guys gonna take what you have approved or what you've gone through the RP process with and the approval process with, and pick and choose which ones are gonna go online and which ones aren't gonna be built?
It's a little more, I would say, it's a little more complex than that, because they can get built regardless of our RFP even. Companies can come in and build projects and if they are approved by the county's legal land use, safety, et cetera, or by FSEC, then we become, because of state and federal law, we become required to plug them in as a customer. They become a customer, essentially. So that's the position that PSE is in as far as those projects. I kind of want to go back to, I think there was, I try to speak clearly, and I think, a little bit inartful when I was here a year ago and talked about the energy need. I think that there's really, we have over 6,000 megawatts of energy that we control in our system, and we have projects coming into a really specific area in the port, for example, that have generated a lot of interest because, as the port should do, they're developing and doing economic development projects that are hopefully going to attract great businesses and jobs. The largest of those loads that I'm aware of, I think, was on the order of 5 megawatts. I think the challenge there is really one that we're well aware of and working really closely with the port on, but at the same time, it's independent from this clean energy. I think we would be having those same discussions without CETA being in law, for example. So I kind of want to differentiate, and it's a little bit of a cleanup on aisle 4, but the difference between the overall energy need in the system because of clean energy requirements on PSE, and then individual projects that we look at, that have their own, engineering and site-specific challenges. So.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councilman Lavaca. He's had his hand up for a while.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And thank you for coming in, Robert. Really appreciate that. I know we've put out a couple invites to get you in to kind of help clear some of this up. It's a pretty big community discussion on this, and it would be really good to get a good understanding specifically around this topic. So I would almost encourage you to see, or encourage the council to invite you back specifically on the GoldenEye topic, and invite the community to come in and kind of discuss. We got a number of members there. So I think Councilman Henderson nailed in on a point that, this isn't necessarily PSC that's pushing forth this this requirement, although I think that PSC, because PSC is mainly owned by Canada, right? By holding groups out of Alberta and BC. Is that correct?
I get this question all the time. I think we have, pension fund ownership. We have, I believe.
I think the top is Alberta, BC, and then pension, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's correct.
So they're incentivized to kind of see a reduction in that as well. But I know that our state has put in laws. So if they're basically mandating, hey, the supplier of this product is going to have to meet these criteria, then you guys have to meet that criteria. And I think that gets missed in a lot of ways. And it was missed a little bit in our community as well as others as well. I would hate for us to fight really hard against the GoldenEye station because of listed reasons that this community feels are health risk or fire risk or community risk, just to have that end up in somebody other community's backyard. And then them fighting the same challenge and trying to wrap their hand around it. So figuring out a safer technology would be very much applicable. Is there a lot of effort to develop safer technology with this requirement?
For BEST projects in particular?
In particular, yeah. I know there's a number of them in the state, around, not in our state, but around the West Coast, at least right now. They haven't turned out very well.
Yeah. As a company, we're following developments with these BEST facilities really closely. The Moss Landing fire, for example, prompted California to re-up their codes around how you build these and safety regulations around those. BEST facilities have really come online recently, and so a legacy system using older technology was built in 2020 at this point. we've come a long way in 5 years. And for example, the codes that California implemented after this fire were already in place in Washington. So we feel we stand behind this technology, and in fact, the plan that we have for adding these resources to the grid can't be successful without it. So it's really critical to our success following our state law.
Okay, Councilman Loy?
Just one more question, Madam Mayor, if I may. On when Bess came in and they had a open forum with Town Hall, I believe you probably watched it, right, at least?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then on that, their responses to the questions from the community and the council and the plan that they had laid out as far as their rate of return and their safety practices that were going into practice or any of their layout, how did PSC, as the head of government affairs, how did PSC feel about their responses to this community?
This is a project that, is in the county and going through the FSEC process, and I really think that it's important to let FSEC and your elected officials know exactly how you feel about it.
Okay, Councilman Loy?
Yeah, could you explain to me, I've never figured out, could you tell me what a megawatt is and how much a house would take and how much a city takes? But I mean, it's just something simple, because I've never figured it out.
This is one, I wish I had an engineer with me, to be honest. Are there any electrical engineers in the room? No.
One EV plugged in is like 120 homes going online. One EV. So one car. You plug
Oh,
one
okay.
in, and that's like 120 homes going online.
Well, my question to that would be, can you tell me what a megawatt is?
It's a measure of the production of a generating facility. So I like to think of our entire system, for example, which has about 6,300 megawatts of our owned capacity, which was one of the, I think, slide 3 that showed that pie chart. So that represents all of the hydro, the gas-fired turbines, both, our combined cycle, which are the large baseload energy providers, and then our peaking plants, which we rely on for events that are outside of the norm, frankly, as well as the renewable pieces there. So that total owned mix, the 6.5 gigawatts, so gigawatt is the thousandths of that measure. That's equivalent to the Grand Coulee Dam, for example. Grand Coulee Dam's about 6,900 megawatts of produced energy. So that also gives you a scale of what we're adding on to the system under the Clean Energy Act.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Burns?
I was looking through your generation methods for electricity on page 11 of your packet, and one caught my attention, SPI biomass. I know it's a small amount, but what is that? Is it what I think it is?
Let me see. What page was it on?
11.
I'm so used to having these on my computer, but can we get that slide up? It's slide 11. Can you tell what the little icon is?
I can't. That's why I was asking. It is a cow. Okay. See, I was actually wondering if that's what it was.
Yeah. So biomass is like a dairy digester.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't know what SPI is.
Okay. Well, I'm not too worried about
Because
SPI.
it
So
counts, even though it's 17 megawatts, so it all counts.
they're capturing the methane from a cow and then.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I know I spoke with you about Bess, so I'm not going to beat this too much more. I understand that you are separate from GoldenEye. I do agree with a lot what's been said on that matter, but I also want to praise PSE on one thing. And the fish passageways up at the Baker Dam, I mean, that is spectacular what has been done there. And I really, really wish the Seattle City Lights would take a note from your playbook on this one, because you all have done a fantastic job with the salmon runs up there. And that's something that is important to me, is to see that continue. And I really hope that they will take a look at what you've done at some point and make that happen.
Yeah, certainly. We're really proud of the project, and it really highlights the partnerships that we have in the community, and frankly, the workers and folks that make that work up there. It's an amazing facility. So really open invite for a tour. If we go in July, you can almost walk across the river on Steelhead, or on Sockeye. We won't do that, but.
I want to see it. I'd like to come do a tour. That's awesome. Thank you.
Councilwoman Kesty?
Thank you. I guess just help me understand a little bit better. You guys are very proud about what you're doing with the fish, but the 10 battery storage potential that could be coming in, and the RFPs and the people that are like Bess coming in could completely destroy that. So how does PSE feel about that clean energy that will come at a massive price for us, and all of that work that you guys have done? If one fire or just something like that, how can you guys be asking for those things when they can cause such havoc to our community?
Yeah, that's a great question. We really, we believe that technology has come a long way, and we've had really strict standards for safety as those have been deployed, and have great partnerships with with the Skagit County Fire Marshal, for example, and have seen projects be successful, and frankly need to be successful. Battery storage is really, it's not a Skagit County phenomenon. It's not a Washington State phenomenon. It's worldwide. It's projected to be, a really big part of decarbonizing the energy supply. So I would just say, we need to be really vigilant about the safety issues that are inherent with BESS, and also around any energy project. We also have, we are a supplier of electricity and natural gas, and as a company, we take safety, as our paramount, as a paramount duty, and those technologies are not without their safety challenges as well. And so we really, I would just ask to look at our track record on that front as well, and I think keep asking those questions and talking to FSEC, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just have one comment regarding that, and that is I've written several letters to all the legislatures within the 39th and the 40th, and knowing that we do need to increase the power, that the needs are great, the demand is great, nobody wants to see blackouts happening, and I do understand that the legislature is pushing forward a lot of benchmarks, not just for PSE, but also other businesses and whatnot. So I guess my point is that my letter states, and I think everybody in here would agree, that yes, perhaps those kinds of power plants ought to be built, but not on protected farmland. They need to be built on industrial land, and that's what I keep saying to the legislature. So go ahead and build it, but build it where it's appropriate.
Correct.
I think that's where it needs to go, not where there's protected waters, not where there's protected land, not where people have their livelihood. And I do want to do a shout out to Woody. Woody, thank you very much for putting the city's best webpage on the city site. In fact, you can go to the city site and you can see the letters that have been written, both by those of us here in Sedro-Woolley, but also by the tribe and other interested parties. So, so yeah, I know you're in a tough spot. It's delicate. I realize that, given that you represent a company that is seeking to find those kind of power sources. So, took courage to come. I know it did.
No, not at all. Glad to be here. Glad to continue discussions and answering any questions that you have, including, I think my contact was on there, including my cell phone. So please, if you do have questions come up, give me a call or email, and happy to come back as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, Robert.
Thank you all.
And I think it's a good idea. You had a good suggestion as far as coming back and having that conversation with those of us, and you and I can have conversation, and we can arrange that and maybe do another work session where you can come back and answer some questions if it's appropriate. But I'll make that call.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Robert.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
again.
And sorry
Yeah.
that was so
Mayor,
long.
may I ask one more question?
Oh, is that?
It's
Yeah, if
coming
it's
up.
all
It's
right.
10 to 8.
So, Robert, yeah, thank you very much too, Robert. No, it was a lot to come out. With this increase through 2020, 2030 and 2045, that's going to be a pretty massive investment in cost. Are we anticipating on seeing the cost raise on the electric bills? As you know, we just passed the largest tax increase in Washington State history, and then to see the energy as well coming out of Olympia. I personally don't want to see the best stations, and I don't want to see us moving to all green. I want to see it more about supply and demand and doing it at a more organic level and seeing
Okay,
good
so
technology.
the question is
But I do
though,
wanna know
Councilman
what the
Lavaca,
cost-
I had already
it's-
tried to move on. The question though was a good question. Do
it's-
you foresee this raising
Yeah,
the
the
rates?
cost, are we going to see that cost come up?
So the costs directly associated with CETA are set in the law, and it's capped, I believe, at 2.5% a year. PSC also has a rate case that we do now on a 2-year cycle that concerns your electric rates, as an electric customer, and then as a gas customer as well. And that separately had an 11-month review process last year. And we have, so what the UTC approved was an 11.5% increase in 2025, 6.4% in 2026. And then on the gas side, it was 10.6 in 2025 and 1.8 in 2026. A lot of those costs are necessary for maintaining our essential utility services, but also the investments that we're making in clean energy and grid modernization, in EV and fleet electrification, and core competencies that the utility works on. And then we face the same externalities that cities and state government do at the same time. So I hope that clarifies.
All right,
Yeah, thank you very much. About 10%. Great.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, moving on to new business. We have the Skagit Council Regional Call for Projects. This is the John Liner Arterial Improvement Project and FNS Grade Road Improvements. This is Phase 1 project. And so I'm going to turn this over to Kyle Anderson, who's going to talk with us about this. These are projects he wants to put forward and need council approval, and he's looking for an approval because they are due tomorrow, correct?
End of the week here.
End of the week,
Yeah.
okay.
So my apologies,
Friday.
council. Thank you for having us here. This call for projects came out on March 21st, which we ended up putting out 5 different estimates through this, which I wouldn't have been able to turn around in a day. So I appreciate you taking the time to hear us out and what have you. Really, we just had 2 projects that would require your approval here. One would be for additional funds for the next phase of the Jones-John Liner corridor, pretty much west of where the roundabout's going to go, in between Highway 9 and Reed Street there. There's some additional construction funds, and I believe the theory that our previous director had was to try to apply for TIB funding to fill this gap that we really have for this project. A strategy maybe to move forward with is we get better matching rates when we go through SCOG, and potentially a balance difference of about $100,000 of savings that would go to the city if we can get this approved. These additional funds for the John Liner corridor would be for additional construction and preliminary engineering funds here. And then our other project is actually going to be part of the contingency list. So when we meet obligation authority for the region, which we actually did this last year with SCOG and intend to keep coming close, if not doing that every year, there's opportunity of other liquidated funds for other agencies and areas that are not able to obligate, which could be a potential opportunity for us to expand. And the other project would be for the FNS Grade Road Phase 1 Improvements Project, which is from pretty much Edward Murrow and then almost to Trail Road, where we would do shared use path, full corridor reconstruction, drainage, et cetera, and really we're just looking at some preliminary engineering funds for that with a local match, and we're paying a 13.5% versus an 86.5% on that.
Okay. So you're looking for approval?
We are, yes.
So any questions? Go ahead, Councilman Henderson.
Thanks, Kyle. Where are we taking the money from to get those matches?
There's some opportunities here. They would probably come out of the 104 and 304 funds, or there's an economic, what is it? Grant that the county puts out about $500,000 every year that we intend to try to snag to help with this match as well.
Is that through eDesk?
Yeah, it's the 1%, yeah.
Yeah, and bear
It's
with me,
actually
I
through
don't-
the, it's actually through
I'm not as familiar with the acronym for it off the top of my head. I just am aware of the fund that's available for that.
So our total's 373, 425, and that's gonna come out of 401?
It'd be probably 104 or 304 there for our road fund.
Kelly, can you,
The arterial, the streets and arterial street funds, and then those generally get funded by some of our, like REIT and transportation benefit district funds. They usually reimburse those,
So-
those other funds.
so our match is 373, and what's our target? What are we going after? I didn't see, it's,
Well, for the John Liner corridor, we're going for 1.6 million.
okay.
And then for the FNS grade road Phase 1 PE, we're going for 333,000.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Burns?
We have the funds available to cover this match and not dip into something we were setting aside for a different project? Would that be
Correct,
fair to
correct.
say?
We're fine.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Councilman Cock?
Yeah, I have are there any more questions? Because I'd like to make a motion.
Oh,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
okay, so are you going, there are 4 motions here.
Oh. Well, I'll approve.
The first is a motion to approve additional commitment of $321,215 in local funding to match for the STPUS federal fund grants for the John Liner Arterial Improvement Project. Do you want to explain, Kyle, what it is that do you need all 4 of these approved, or do you?
Pretty much, can we, would council allow us to have these match funds available? And then can we allow the mayor to sign both project endorsement forms? Here is in short what we're asking.
So our total cash out-of-pocket investment's 373, 425, right? There's some other amounts up here in the second and fourth motion. Those are project costs, but those are the grants that we're going after using these match funds of $373,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I want to approve all 4. Do I do it individually?
What are you looking for, Kyle? Is it something that actually Councilman Cock can just say that he makes a motion to approve motions 1 through 4 with the local funding match requirement total for the projects of 373, 425?
I would hope that would work for the council, yes.
Okay, I make that motion.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman Cock, seconded by Councilman Henderson to approve the recommended actions 1 through 4. And I'm going to read these into the record because they need to be read into the record, so bear with me. Now, 1 is motion to approve the additional commitment of the $321,215 in local funding for the match of the STPUS federal fund grants for the John Liner Arterial Improvements Project. The second motion is to authorize Mayor Johnson to sign the attached project endorsement form for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program through the Skagit Council of Governments for the John Liner Arterial Improvement Project with an estimated project cost of $2,980,091. Motion number 3 is to approve the commitment of $52,110 in local funding to match the STPUS federal fund grants for the for FNS grade road improvement Phase 1 project. And the fourth and final motion is to authorize Mayor Johnson to sign the attached project endorsement form for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program through Skagit Council of Governments for FNS Grade Road Improvements Phase 1 projects with an estimated project cost of $2,740,500. With the total bringing it, that brings it more than what we've got going on here. Or those are the costs of the projects, never mind.
Yes, those are the
Because
costs of the
what we're looking
projects.
for is the matching fund. With the
Correct.
matching fund being the $373,425 total for motions 1 through 4.
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same,
Aye.
opposed, same sign? All right. Thank you, council.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move now into public comment. I realize it's almost 8 o'clock, but it's really important. We want to hear from our citizens. So at 7:58, let's see here, is Ingrid Hinton still here? No. Okay. How about Tennyson? No. Okay, Rebecca Knoll? Oh, sorry, that was Robert Knoll. My bad. And then Carl DeYoung. Welcome back, Carl.
Hi. Good evening, council, mayor, directors. My name's Carl DeYoung, and I live at 1101 Fidalgo Street. And in about 14 weeks, we're going to have an amazing event here in Sedro-Woolley. It's called the Skateboard Challenge, and that'll be on August 16th. As one of the co-producers, I just wanted to thank the city of Sedro-Woolley for its long-standing sponsorship and involvement in the Skateboard Challenge. As we know, it's a family-friendly event, and we just have a blast. And we've got the music lined up, the photographer back, and Woody, I know you're watching this behind the curtain. Great job on the tech and getting things posted. So we're working hard, and any advice that you have for us, and happy to plug it in, and we're happy to get this going and see it in the tourist guide as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl. Anyone else who would like to make public comment? Okay, all right.
Madam Mayor, we have one hand raised from a remote user.
Crier.
Okay, I will get to her right after Susie speaks.
Sally.
Sally, I'm sorry.
Sally Carlson, 22917 Cheryl. And I want to know, I would like to just point out, John Liner's already a racetrack west of the railroad tracks. I'd like to know how the city's going to mitigate more car racing once you push that road clear through to 9. And the other thing I brought up to Councilman Burns earlier was the park on North Reed, the proposed park. You own some property. And I invite you all during the winter, after we've had a rain, to go over there and walk that area. That is a wetlands. My tenants that live on the back of that property can't walk in their backyard during the winter. So it's a swamp. So I don't think putting play fields over there would be the best use of that land. I suggested to Councilman Burns that possibly plantings and a trail system would be better.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sally. And then Connie.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for having me, Connie Cryer. I am just wanted to make a couple of comments about the PSE and, presentation, and I appreciate that PSE came out and presented. There's just a couple of things I wanted to point out is that PSE did put out the notice, the request for proposal, and when you go through their RFP list, you'll notice that the majority of the projects that are listed in the top section, there's 7 of them in Skagit County. There's only 5 in King County. There's 1 in Kittitas County. There's none listed in Snohomish County on PSE's list. So he also mentioned that, they need battery storage for when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, but he never mentioned when the river doesn't flow, since that's where we get all of our power is from the hydro. So since the river's always flowing, we don't have solar panels, we don't have wind turbines here. So what is the best storing energy from when it's not getting it? I mean, it didn't make any sense to me. So PSC may not be able to say no to hooking up other utilities to their services because they have the monopoly. However, PSE can, in fact, write a letter and say that they believe that the Sedro-Woolley location is not the most optimal location, or it is not the most conducive location for one of these facilities. They are welcome to write that same letter to FSEC that we can write, and they can express that they don't believe this is the best place for it. But the reality of it is they do believe that because they have it listed on their RFPs as 3 times a place they want to put a BESS is Sedro-Woolley and at that substation. So PSE states one thing, that they want to partner with us and that they want quote unquote clean energy. But the reality of it is they know BESS are dirty. They know that there's a potential for a fire. He said that the technology's come so far in 5 years, then why not wait 5 more? I mean, if there's that much change between 2020 and 2025, that the contamination that was caused by Moss Landing has contaminated soils, wells, the food sources, the bay that is near there, all of that, and 5 years later, he's saying that the technology is so good that that could never happen here, I find that hard to believe. So if it's moving that fast and the technology is changing that much, then PSE should tell FSEC that it is not appropriate to site these BESS facilities next to Hanson Creek, critical waterways, critical farmland, Padilla Bay, any of the places where these are currently being proposed. If you want to build them somewhere away from people and away from critical waterways and away from critical farmlands. And PSE has every right to put in those letters and tell FSEC that that's what they believe. So I have a lot more to say, but I will put it in writing and I will submit it to the council, and PSE can look at it from there. But the reality is PSE is trying to greenwash everybody and claim to be clean and claim to be, partnering. And the reality of it is behind closed doors, what they're doing behind closed doors is strong arming the county and everybody else into putting in these BESS plants when they know that they're not good for the environment. So thank you for your time. I appreciate everything you guys do. And thanks for having them in today.
Thank you, Connie. And actually, yes, do submit that letter, and we will add it to the other letters that we do have on our website. So thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. And with that, thank you, council. It was a lot of listening that we did tonight, but really great information. And have a safe journey home. Thank you. We are adjourned.